In a quiet corner of Long Island, where breath meets stillness and stone yields to vision, one man has spent a lifetime shaping beauty, not only in form but in spirit. This is the story of Howard Levine, artist, sculptor, teacher, seeker. Through the rhythm of printmaking and the silence of meditation, Howard has chiseled his legacy into the hearts of all who know him. His hands speak in textures and shadows, but his presence speaks louder still, with kindness, wisdom, and an unshakable gentleness.
Perfect. It's not too hot, not too cool. Easy to work. Nice.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Good morning to you.
Our friends together Sunday 11 at 11.
He is not just a sculptor of material, he is a sculptor of moments, a cultivator of peace. A beloved figure in our Buddhist meditation center, and a shining example of how the inner path and the outer craft can become one. This film is not only a portrait, it is a meditation, a tribute to the quiet force of a man whose art transcends stone and whose life has become a living work.
That's a student of mine. My wife is always laying things down, which is good, because I always blow things up. So it's different. Yeah, see, that painting was done in 1973. That one that was very colorful, that's almost 50 years old. See, the colors go blue to green from light to dark.
Yeah.
That's transition, metamorphosis, change. So what's going on in the smaller version is going on in the bigger, and that's where those colored squares are going from light to dark when you look at that.
This is the first one among 12 kind of sufferings explained in Four Noble Truths. That is the first one, Jati Dukkha.
It's
The birth is suffering.
Yes, I have heard that, but
Now, birth means, not that way, when an infant birth or mother delivering the baby, that if baby is not crying, everybody is upset.
right.
But that is not the meaning here.
No, it isn't.
Jatika Dukkha means the all to everywhere, whatever the birth, wherever the birth, existence,
Right.
is the origin, come to origin is the suffering. Because there is an end. The death will
Of
take
suffering,
place.
right.
Because of that origination, the death will take place.
Yeah.
So the birth and death, in between birth and death, there are a lot of things.
But they say that the baby is living inside the mother before it comes out. So really, the birth isn't the birth. The birth was in the stomach first, and then it worked out.
Conception.
So the conception is really, but like you heard me say several times, when nurses see this, they're happy, they're celebrating because the baby is alive. the baby is not going to be a problem.
Yes.
They go crazy when the baby makes no noises.
Yes.
Means their lungs, they're not breathing,
Yeah.
and that leads to brain damage.
Right.
You know, yeah.
So,
I
somehow that this is the first thing noble, four noble truth that you have created it.
right,
That is the important thing. Without you go through with Buddhist.
right. It arrived independently.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I go back to my youth and I say I really love Buddhism. I love all forms of it. I love the Tibetan Buddhism of the Dalai Lama, reading about the Tankas and reading his books. I love Thich Van Han. I love all of the people that meditate from different avenues, you know, they end up here. I think the Buddhists bring this idea of how to really live.
Correct.
You know,
That's true.
like what's important. I worry about that all the time. Okay.
What does this mean?
What does this mean? I remember this one moment when I was in the classroom teaching a class. And the man who runs the computers came in and said, Howard, you've got to come and see this. He took me into the classroom and I saw the second plane going in. He saw the first plane and then I saw the second. And how that affected me was shock, utter shock. How could this happen? How could somebody fly a plane into a building, kill 3,000 people 1 minute like that? Horrible. So this expression is shock. Shock, like, I can't believe this is happening. It's crazy. And then you go down here that I started to carve the figures like people were burning, the jumping out of the building, trying to save their life. I have a man's face here. And he's the brave fireman who went in and tried to help somebody. It's a very powerful piece, you know. It's very important. So the wood is called black walnut. There's a story about that wood. I took that tree and that wood and I built it into the studio. I saved the pieces and I have like, well, this is supposed to be for you. Yeah. So, yeah, this is figures. If you come around here, let me move this. You see face in here. These are the buildings, the Twin Towers. Here's a hand. You see the fingers coming out here, just kind of like flames. Their hands are like burning.
So good morning.
Good morning, Bante.
It is a beautiful day, and
Yes.
This is we meet here December 12th, 10:33 in the morning, 2024. You know, 12, 12, 12. You know,
12, 12, 12.
yeah, you know, 12th, December 12th, midnight 12, and after midnight, after 12 minutes, 12, it's a auspicious time.
Ah,
Yes, today.
is that connected to the Luna?
Yes.
Yes, because
And first of all, thank you very much for tea and cookie. So I would like to you to talk about yourself. What's your name, by the way?
my name is Howard Alexander Levine. My mother chose the name Alexander because Alexander was a great leader in the Greek period of time in history. So she liked that name and she thought it was a regal name. My father is Nathan Levine. He was born in Canada. His parents came from Poland to Canada as an immigrant, just like many people came to America. My mother's parents came from Odessa, the Ukraine, where there is a war. In fact, they left from the port of Odessa, which goes into the Black Sea, and came here. So both my when I think of it, my mother had a huge heart. She was always helping others. We always had many different family people visiting and living with us for periods of time when there was conflict and staying at home was not suitable. My mother always had an open hand. And the other thing I learned from my mother is she had this enormous generosity, but real generosity based on concern. If she saw something she didn't like, she reacted to it. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, East 46th Street. It was a happy birth. As I was trying to remember it, I'm trying to look at the pictures and say, what can I remember from the first year?
What is your birthday?
My birth date is July 6th, 1944. My parents' anniversary was July 4th, and July 4th is where we celebrate the anniversary of America, because it's the new year, and they make a big deal of that.
How was the society that time when you were born, according to your memory? How the people, the environment?
Okay, when you're very young, like I said, my mother had 7 siblings, a lot of sisters. My mother was the second oldest, and she and all of her sisters, she has 2 brothers too, they were always eager to have me. They always wanted to carry me or roll me in the cart because I was the first child born, and that had some kind of merit, like the firstborn does that. Through the years, I was a very good athlete. At one time, I thought I wanted to be a professional athlete. When I was going to regular school, I was the captain of the team. And
What is the school? The first day school. From the beginning, you can say the kindergarten and from
yes.
How you started.
Yes, I started, of course, kindergarten through 8th. It was PS 193 in Queens. We moved from Brooklyn to Queens right near the Whitestone Bridge, or the bridge going upstate. Let's see. When I was in 3rd grade or 4th grade, I had this love of art. When the teacher said, I need a poster, or I need a picture of the birds, or I need something, my hand was first, so they gave me the bulletin board. And it was my job to decorate the bulletin board in the classroom. So the conflict between being in the arts, my father, I'll give a little bit of background. He grew up poor, and he made a determination that he was going to overcome this poverty and be successful. During the war, he worked in a business that Buddhists don't approve of. He was selling meat, but it was a very big thing, and many people during the war, they had rationing where they would give you a card, and you bring that card to the butcher store, and he gives you some meat because they were fighting a war. It was, I didn't know from war, but that's just the way.
That means your father had experience on war?
My father worked for somebody. He was a young man, and he was part of that business, although he was not in business for himself, but he learned how to run a business. I guess the most important thing is my father was sort of a very firm, strict businessman, and he could never understand that he provided what I needed by making money, and that was very important to him. He even gave half of his paycheck to his mother so she could buy food. My father was the most successful one in his family in terms of obtaining a business and that. And what my father used to emphasize is don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. To him, being lazy was a crime.
So that is
always go for it. And when you stop working and there's nothing to do, look for work. If this was dirty, get a rag and clean it. You're working. But he also would never do anything. He would do anything he asked the people who work for him to do. And it was only he asked them because he was doing something else. I couldn't do it. So I got that growing up. I got the ethic of hard work. I got the heart from my mother, who was a warm. My father did, at that time, it wasn't permissible for women to work. My father would say, I'm not providing you with enough. You need to go out and work. No, you be the mother, you stay home. In my generation, we're equal. My wife and I earned the same money. I wasn't the primary breadwinner. My brother was much closer to my father because my brother was a very good businessman. And you know what? My father trusted him so much that he said to him, I'm giving you access to my bank account. You can take any amount of money that you need from that account as long as you replace it. And he had an idea. I will give you what you need. But but you still owe.
right.
And you still have to do that. And
So according to that, there are two lessons from your dad. You know, if you get something you owe, you have to replace it, and you cannot be lazy.
Yeah,
So
he hated that.
How it affected your life?
Well, you know, I taught that philosophy of you can do it, don't be afraid. Even if you've never done it, you'll make a mistake and then you'll fix the mistake and you'll get it right. A lot of people, if they don't get it right away, they run away from it. Oh, I can't do this. They won't allow themselves to carry it through. I had a very strong personality. I mean, a strong. If we were playing sports, give me the ball. Give me the ball. I'll win the game. In other words, I was not afraid to take charge. And I used to tell my students, you have my permission to be great. You can do it. And so I have all these letters and these articles, students sending me notes about, Mr. Levine, you meant so much to me. You touched my life. You made me want to change what I'm doing. So I loved making art and I loved teaching. So how lucky could I be? The money part of my life was taken care of.
Very good. So again, let's go back to your childhood. What are the schools that you went, and
Okay.
do you remember any names of your teachers and,
yes.
and your friends in your childhood?
Yes, in elementary school, which was from first grade to 8th grade, we went to that school, and then we went to a junior high, but I went to a private school.
What is the city?
Jackson Heights, Queens was my school. It was, just ignore that.
That's fine.
Yeah. I remember there was a bully in the school.
The elementary school?
In elementary school.
Hey, Howard, Barbara and Gladys. When we get special kiddish on the 21st for our class, and we had the diploma class we had going, and so we finished it. So we're doing a special luncheon on the 21st and special program. If you want to come on the 21st of December.
I came, there was this one boy that used to pick on me. He was older and taller. And I think that we would end up getting into fights all the time. Actual physical fights. We would actually, yeah, imagine me, a fighter, you know, it's like, but I'll never forget my grandparents. My grandmother was visiting our house, and I got into a fight with this kid. And he was bigger than me, and he was older than me. And I hit him so hard that he went home crying to his mother, who was watching from the window, just like my mother was watching. Let them settle their own problem. That's what the attitude was. And then I learned about I just learned that it's not such a happy, good world out there, and sometimes confrontations do happen.
Do you remember the name of some teachers that time?
Yes, there was a lady. My favorite teacher was Mrs. Moonen. She was an Irish lady who was very strict. And she went to my mother and said, this guy, talking about me, could turn out to be somebody great or he could be somebody very bad. I recommend that you send him to this school, and that will give him a greater picture of life. So they sent me to this private school. It was like a preparation for university. But that's where I learned how to love Manhattan. I would go to the museums and I would go to the concerts. And my first studio, when I finished with school, I had a big loft on 14th Street and 5th Avenue, and it was like I was living my dream.
So what are the schools that you went to, the name and the cities?
Okay, well, high school is the Garden School, Jackson Heights, Queens. Then I finished high school, and then I went to Pratt Institute, which is a university, and I graduated with honors, cum laude.
University, what university?
It's called Pratt, Pratt.
Yeah.
It was in Brooklyn, New York, a very famous school for the arts.
What year?
I was between 62, around 68.
Right.
Yeah. And so I went to university, then I went to graduate school.
How was the population that time when you are in high school and the university? How was the population in Brooklyn and the school? How many children were there?
This was a school that had 500 students in it.
100 students.
Yeah, and they were considered themselves college prep, so that it was the more rigorous training that you got. The biggest problem for me is that I loved art, and then figuring out I also wanted to have a wonderful family, which I had. And most artists, they could be very brilliant, but they're not very successful in happiness in life. Well, part of it is they're over anxious or agitated all the time. Agitation has a negative connotation in Buddhism. To me, agitation is what gets things done. It's like, there's a problem, we gotta fix this. And then don't wait, do it. Just fix it. The first fix is the easiest fix.
Some more information about your university and university life.
Yes.
And your subjects, what you did.
Yes, I studied at Pratt Institute, which is a professional school. Anybody that knows the schools, one of the best, top 5 in the country, we'll say. And I met some very famous people. Jacob Lawrence was a black artist who became very, very successful, and I used to drive him home and we would talk, and he would come up to my studio and look at my work. So he showed it even the major museums. Very important artist. When I got my studio at Pratt, there was also every subject was very important. In other words, if they taught a material science or I learned how to weld. So if I wanted to, I could do metal work. Casting and all the way I work now, I taught myself. So I don't have to send that out. I could do it at home. So I could make the piece, make the negative of it, cast the piece, and reproduce it. So not only do I make one, but somebody wants to buy 10. I'll never forget, I made a Mother Teresa portrait of her, and my brother was sitting on a plane going out to California. He just starts talking to this nun, and she says, I have a brother who's a terrific artist, and he did a Mother Teresa. I'm gonna tell him. So I sent them 10 of them, and they turned around and made a lot of money. They sold them to help. This woman ran a hospital for the people who couldn't pay. So it was like, she was like a Mother Teresa type of person,
Do you remember the name of the lecturers, professors?
Well, there were a lot of good ones. I said Mrs. Moon, and she
Yeah.
convinced my mother to send me to prep school, because if I got in with the wrong crowd, I would be the ringleader. I laugh when I think about how I thought, you know. I was an artist before I even knew my Ruth. We met in the city. I had a big studio.
Yeah.
She was coming to the university to go to graduate school.
That would be a interesting story. So we will talk about that.
Yeah.
So it is a beautiful day, and after 2 days raining, so it's a beautiful sunny day. So I'm with Howard Levine in his residence. He offered me delicious tea as well as cookies baked by him. So I appreciate, Howard, for your generosity, generous
I know you like them.
yes. So it is a new day, a beautiful day after 2 days raining, as well as it's a new chapter from now, from today, December 12. From now, it will become a new chapter, new experience. So, new chapter of Howard Levine from today.
Hi, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about Ruth, my wife, as I refer to her, Miss Bonte. I say my girlfriend, like we just met last week, but Ruth was going to graduate school at the Bank Street College of Education, which is a very, very advanced theories of the latest educational.
What city? What city?
She came to New York City. The schools she taught in Spanish Harlem. It was so bad in Spanish Harlem, dangerous, that they needed an escort. The teachers needed an escort to get to their car. Can't walk on the street. There was somebody. So she went into this school to try to make a difference, to give opportunities to them. Sometimes when you try to help the poor, it backfires. They're not ready to receive whatever you're giving. But I was an artist. I had a big loft on 14th Street. I'm gonna introduce you to Morris Frank. He was an 80-year-old mentor that took me under his wing. I was 18. He was in his 80s, and
What year then?
in the early 70s, and he would give me counsel like a grandfather. You know, you could have a special relationship with somebody who's not your father, because your father and you have issues or whatever. But at any rate, Ruth came here, and a friend calls me up and he says, "Howard, we are going to the movies tonight. Would you like to come with us?" I can even tell you the movie we saw. It was Ingmar Bergman Persona, which was a Swedish movie. We went to see this movie. And we come back at Bonte. We went on the roof of her apartment and spent all night just talking. And she was finishing school. We were not married. We were thinking of getting married. I had a very strong belief that I also wanted to be a successful parent. I wanted to be the best father. I wanted to be the best. I always, if this is what's the requirement, give back even more.
By the way, so when you meet a girl or girl meet a boy during that time, would you able to get a decision to get married? Should you inform your parents, or what is that situation? What's the custom?
Well, Ruth's family goes back hundreds of years here, even as back as the 1700s. So she was a Quaker, which is the people at a religious group that founded Pennsylvania. William Penn sailed for the English government, and the government, as a gift, gave him the land of Pennsylvania, Native American. So she comes from I come from a background of immigrants, a modern world. She comes back for 3 or 4 generations where it was like, we call it old money and new money. If you have more money.
Can you explain about the Native Americans? How she coming from, the ethnic group and something like that, and customs and traditions?
They were very religious group. They did something very similar to the Buddhists in terms of meditation. When you go to a Quaker meeting house, it is quiet, dead silent for an hour, unless you have something to say. If you have something to say, you stand up and you tell what the issue is and you bring it to the crowd and they could react. So they will help you if you bring up a topic. She grew up on a farm, so even a lot of this old furniture, hundreds of years, they're antiques. Some people would say it's garbage. Other people say, this has been in my family for 300 years. I'm attached to it. Not attachment, but that's who you are. So, the stages of me getting my education degree, when we had Rachel, which is our first child, that changed everything. I had to leave my studio in Manhattan. I started to get a teaching job.
Where you started?
I started in Smithtown.
That is your first job?
My first job, I taught elementary school in Smithtown. I taught junior high and I taught high school. I taught high school for 4 years in Smithtown. Then I came out to West Hampton and finished my career of 23 years teaching at the high school in West Hampton.
So how was your experience in schools as a teacher? What was your teaching? What is the subject you taught?
I taught computer graphics. I was very much in the beginning stages of the computers. The school district that I worked for thought of me as a very good teacher. So they always gave me more money than I needed to start new programs, or they knew that when I first started teaching out in West Hampton, they had 4 classes for one teacher. They had to find something else to give me a full-time job, which is 5 classes. So, what I tried to say is, I tried to get the kids to do the best they can, and I had a special way of being firm, but in a smiley way, In other words, I would try to get a mental understanding so we were on the same page. And like I said, West Hampton was very good. I taught portrait sculpture. I taught, at that time, the computer was being used for color correction. And at that period of 4 or 5 years, well, I was going around New York State teaching this new machine that was coming out, 1986. That was before Apple just started with big fat pixels, like, you know, it had no resolution. And then they invented this chip, which is called the VLSI chip, which made capturing video into pictures a click action because the lens, so it was right in the new technology, and it was used for color correction. So every photograph that was printed in a magazine or a newspaper was put in for some kind of adjustment, where take out the dark in the eye, or, you know. I got a portrait, I'll never forget this. What I learned about portraiture, I used to think that if you nail the facts, in other words, if I nail every visual detail of your face, I cannot get it sometimes, even if you could do that, you know. So you have to figure out a way. If one thing is not working, it was okay to try and fail. I think that's the bottom line is, if you encourage people, they always have fear of failure that prevents them from not trying. I try to have them overcome that, and I would make jokes about it. But at the same time, do the very best you can, because you'll be satisfied. You'll feel rewarded. So that was...
So any unforgettable experience in your schools as a teacher, maybe from students, from other your co-teachers and friends?
Well, did have an incident where we got a new student, and this student was very disturbed, and he brought a gun into the school. And then the guidance didn't tell me that he was dangerous. Nobody told me. I was a teacher. But when I saw this behavior, he was kicked out of the school the last one he went, and he was brought into this school hoping maybe we could change him. But he was so angry and so abused that you don't save them all. You lose a few on the way of trying. You know, you could tell that. You're talking to 10 people, you know that 3 people are listening, the other people are there. But that didn't work out. And I go down to the guidance and say, "What's up with this kid?" And I got very upset that they didn't tell me that he was dangerous. I treated him like a normal kid, and we almost got into a confrontation because, no, that doesn't go here. This is my classroom. So, you know, he thought he would take over. And so that's it. Human relationships are very tricky, especially when you're trying to coach them. But everybody responds to praise. Praise him.
So he didn't do anything harmful?
No, but it could have been, because I don't like to show it, but I know how to push buttons too. I can make anybody crazy if ask my wife, she'll tell you.
So, but during that time, the society is not corrupted, not confused, but
I find that it's just it's a sad thing that, you know, you try to meet all the kids' needs, but sometimes some just are not, they're not ready. They have sand in their eyes, or they're ignorant. All these Buddhist terms that we use about what's preventing somebody from grasping the essence of what you're saying. As far as I read these books over and over. Sometimes I read the whole book in a day, and I try to understand every word, because I can tell with this stuff, you gotta repeat it. There's a lot to handle how you experience that. I mean, I appreciate the tool of meditation. That's very good. I don't know if I said the difference between Quakers and Buddhists is that if you have something to say, you just stand up and you talk as long as you need to say what you had, your thought, whether you're contributing to the conversation or you have some deep personal need that you have to get off. And I think that that's very important, to be compassionate, caring.
Right.
And that's what I got from my mother. My mother was a kind person. And I was the oldest, so maybe I got the most rewards just because of my position in birth, but I like to think I earned it, you know. It's like somebody said, you do things the old-fashioned way, that you earn it. You know, you don't take it, you don't scheme. Yeah, I see how difficult. I worry when I look at the society and the violence and the anger and the hatred. There's so many people that are hurting deeply, Bhante. They're in so much pain because their life didn't work out the way they wanted to, or it went that way when it should have went that way. You know, it's like, well, when you try to be helpful as a haven for the people that have alcohol and drug problems and everything, you know, it's
So this
but
is
how is it different? I'm coming around to that. I was thinking about that and keeping the conversation going, but I think we'll just
right. So
Please.
let's go back to your family. How about your siblings? So what can you say about them? If you can say about their
Okay.
names and their attitudes, and what is the connection between you and them? You know, what is the bond you have still? How do you enjoy that family situation? How many?
I have a brother and a sister. My sister's name is Madeline, and my brother's name is William. William is 7 years younger than I am, my brother, and my sister is 3 years younger. So I was the oldest of the family, and Bhante, I always wanted to leave home and be independent. I could not wait to get out of my house, although I lived a very comfortable life. I wanted to go out and see the bodies that Siddhartha saw. Or go out in the street and really see. If you live a cushioned life, you don't know the struggles of so many other people. So, yeah.
So what is your faith at birth?
Okay, I was born Jewish. My father was not ever interested in religion. He didn't believe in. He was very practical, very honest, but he was always busy working. even if it was, my father would say, even if it was a katina ceremony, he would find that he had to go to work instead of going to that, knowing that he should be there, but he still, you know, how many times do we do things that we set out to do the opposite? And it's very fragile. I think.
So you can explain about something about the Judaism,
Okay.
Judaism, and from history, little bit, because according to my knowledge, Jewish community is so powerful, strong, and they don't waste time. They use the time and they enjoy the family, and there are many things to learn from Judaism. What can you say about that?
Well, it's very interesting because it's circular. I learnt religion from my son. The son taught the father religion. We are a mixed marriage. That's what we're called. I'm Jewish, she's a Quaker. She has her own package of information. The story of Judaism is the escape from prison to freedom. They went 40 years, they were in Egypt. They were slaves, they were builders of the pyramids and all of that. And the Jewish people always stuck together. I couldn't understand why people are hated, but you kind of nailed it. We do the job. People talk the talk, but they never do the actual event, Moses, the receiver of the Ten Commandments, which was Christianity was based on that. Ten Commandments was a recipe to live a civilized life. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not do this. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not do all of the things that destroy the family. Growing up, every Friday night, we would go home and have Shabbat dinner. Sabbath, Shabbat means a Sabbath. We work with the lunar calendar too. So ours is 5778. We've been around 6,000 years. We were during the Greek times, during the Roman times, and up until modern history. Part of it was the Christian world needed money to finance their wars, and they needed money to carry on their political advantages. And the Jews taught them how to manage money, how to outfit an army with clothes and what kind of socks. And so they liked the Jewish know-how, and the Jewish know-how comes from wandering for 40 years. They built a golden calf. They wanted to go back to slavery, and they danced around it. It's like somebody gaining the full lesson of Siddhartha's story, but doing the same thing anyway. It doesn't change them.
So, would you please explain the Second World War and Jewish community, we don't know, just we have heard stuff. So, what was happened, and from that time, after the war, the Jewish community stranded, and now they are a powerful community. It is for the new generation. It's a lesson to learn. It's a good lesson to learn. how someone can stand from zero. Can you explain about that?
I mean, that hits the nail right on the head. It's like, how do you explain it?
How was happened? What was happened?
Well, the Holocaust was just the worst thing that happened to Jews in modern history. But throughout the Jews' history, other than helping finance kings fight their wars to whatever, we were taught to be together. And I started to say part of it was every Friday night we would have Shabbat dinner, and there would always be a guest. It would be like we celebrated with a meal. We'd having a stranger at your table. Like we even set out a cup for the stranger. It's called Elijah's cup, and we fill his cup, and he's at the table at the holiday to always remember that we were slaves and never forget.
So that's mean Jews were slaves.
They were slaves, yes.
During that Second World War. That time?
Yes. Well, what they did was they burnt them all. They built.
How did they?
How did they
Yeah,
do it?
Why?
Because the Germans are very smart people, but they were very anti-Semitic until they realized they made a big mistake, and they tried through reparations and being held accountable in the Nuremberg trials for war crimes. Bante, that was the reason I did that stone sculpture up there. Those were the motivational thoughts that kept me pushing. You know, it's like it's almost like you don't see what you're getting yourself into until you get yourself into it. It's like...
So, your ancestors suffer.
My ancestors had left. My grandmother came here in 1907 or 8.
From
so,
where?
From one of them, my father's parents came from Canada, from Europe. They didn't get into the United States. They went to Canada. My mother's mother, her brother, who was a lawyer, paid for his life. he bought his freedom. But we came from Eastern European, the Fiddler on the Roof, you know, the Fiddler on the Roof or the Dreamer that lived in these villages. Every time that Easter or the death of Christ came. By the way, Christ was Jewish. Jesus is Jewish. He was a rabbi. So he was a powerful rabbi that...
Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. He was, a very important figure in history. I just think it's horrible. I don't know if it's worse because your people are not getting it. They're not attacking Sri Lankan Buddhists on the street now. You have a low cover so that you get by, but if they wanted to be painful or they wanted to be nasty, this country could be very violent. And that's the other thing. I think as an artist, I want to reflect the human spirit. I want to create, I want to show the world that, see what hands could do? You asked me, okay, I started to say I could have been an athlete or like a sportsman. Your field, it would be cricket player or whatever it would be. Give me the ball. It was always, I'll take the hit, So I had that confidence of that.
Right. So, I'm from Sri Lanka, a Buddhist monk. I ordained in Vaturvila Forest Monastery under the guidance of late Most Venerable Vaturvila Sri Jnanananda Mahanayaka Thera. He was the first Mahanayaka Thera and founder of the chapter. In other words, Vaturvila Forest Monastery, Vaturvila Vanavasa chapter is a branch of Mallatu Mahavihara Kandy. Their forest chapter is Vaturvila Monastery. So, my sister is Ratnavati Jaisingha. She has 4 children, Samang Jaisingha, Samantha Jaisingha, Deepa Jaisingha and Geetangani Jaisingha. Deepa Jaisingha, my sister's daughter, working in Israel. She loves there. She loves the people there. She loves the country, Israel. When the war started 1 year before, with among the Palestine and Israel war, many people who were working over there, 95% people left from Israel to their countries. Then I asked from my niece, my sister's daughter, what do you think? Do you like to stay there or go back to home? Bhante, I'm not going. Israel people are like our family. I'm not going. Not only myself, all Sri Lankans who are here, nobody is going back home to Sri Lanka. So they have faith and they have good understanding about Judaism and the community, the Jewish community. So their behavior, how do they take care of their parents, almost like us, the similar to Sri Lankan culture. They love their parents, they take care of them. And as a family, they enjoy very much. Parents and children, they work together, they live together, they have good peace and understanding each other. So, also Jewish community is powerful and they are strong, well-devised as well as intelligence. So Howard Levine coming from that community. I'm happy to talk with him and he is talking more about this.
Bhante, I wanted to tell you that my sister and her husband were born here in America. They grew up American, went to American schools, and they moved to Israel because my sister's husband spoke perfect English. Perfect, you couldn't tell where he came from. Perfect English. When Bank Leumi, which was the national bank of Israel, decided to privatize. In other words, the government doesn't own the bank. We have to find Jewish supporters. They sent my sister's husband to South Africa, to parts of Europe, to parts of Asia, and he would discuss big portfolios of stock. So the backers of the state of Israel became the world of people involved with the Jewish community. Now, she had 2 children. Both of them are brilliant. One is a brain scientist who's told me the last time I saw her this summer that we're going to find a cure for cancer in a few months. We're just on it. We're going to save 80% of the people once we develop this medicine. We have always had an emphasis on intelligence, doctors, science. We loved science, understand the mechanics of how things work. But my sister's very sad. Noah, which is my sister's son, is living in Bordeaux, France with his wife and is working for a French company doing cancer research. He was top secret in the Israeli government, where he was not allowed to travel to Middle Eastern countries because he knew too much. If you know too much, you are a target for somebody else that wants what you have. And so the kids, and the other one is a college professor that does molecular modeling. So they're 100 miles over my intellectual head in terms of the sciences. But we're encouraged to do that, and it's just sad that we can't get along with our neighbors. But neighbors, I mean, you do have a partner in Judaism if you want to establish something. But we learned as Jews, never again. And never again is a phrase that we say, never again to allow what happened to us in the 40s.
Oh, never again.
Never again. That's
the lesson.
That's
to
to learn.
So from that lesson, what you can tell to this current society to build up their lives and families?
You see, we get, I don't know, I guess it's part of my philosophy is that you have to allow people to discover. I can't give you an opinion that I'm walking unless we agree from the beginning that, in other words,
I mean the unity,
well,
work together and teamwork and work together.
Yeah, my sister,
hard working.
What your sister, I guess it's your wife's, your sister's child that likes Israel.
Yeah.
It's a believe me, I've been to Israel a couple of times. Like I said, my sister and brothers, my brother-in-law went to Columbia University, and first he managed the bank in the New York branch, which has all the jewelry, just like the diamonds and all the emeralds, and they know the mines. The biggest diamond people own the mines, and they know how to farm the mines. So yeah, if a person wants to come over, you welcome them. But we do not proselytize. It is against our faith to try to ask somebody of not our faith to be of our faith. You would have to come and you would have to sit down with a rabbi, and his job is to talk you out of it. Then, if he can't talk you out of it, he welcomes you in open arms. You say, you sure you want to be connected to our destiny? Look at the history of us. Look at how the Inquisition was in Spain. Look at how the Europeans, the Cossacks, which are the Russians and the Ukrainians, would come in their horses and ride into the village and set it on fire. This is the memory, the scar tissue. 1948 was when Israel, it was right after. It was the world's guilt for what happened in the concentration camps that got the state of Israel established. I mean, it was a payback for doing horrible crimes in a certain way. And like I said before, every Friday night we would have dinner. The religion was fed to us, spoonful by spoonful.
That's the unity and enjoyment of the family.
You gotta teach somebody that. It's not inherent, because most people are very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
They're always thinking of themselves, thinking of what angles they could work for their benefit or their advantage.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Bante.
Having got lessons from our history in different nations, different cultures, different countries, we can analyze what happened in the past, what happened to their ancestors, our ancestors, how they enjoyed, how they suffered, how they worked hard for themselves and survive themselves and protect others. How was the economy? How was the society? "50 years ago, 100 years ago, or during the time of the popular wars." So, as generation in this scientific world, our duty to get more peace to the society, more happiness and fruitful things to this society. So, having got all those important facts from our past, with Howard, we try to discuss more important facts for more peace and happiness for the future generation.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some Jewish values that I grew up with, and in general, our faith evolved. I must say that an important part of my education in religious information was my son. My son Joshua, growing up as a young boy, was the only Jewish kid, or one of the few Jewish kids in this area. And he became very, successful, and then he realized that emphasis on education is the most important value.
What is your name, the son's name, and how old is he?
My son is named Joshua Levine, and he is about 49. If you want the fact, ask my boss. I don't worry about the facts. She worries about the facts. Oh, you can't say that.
What does he doing now?
What is she doing now?
What does he doing? Your son?
My son,
His profession.
he is an environmental engineer, and that means he works on major pollution problems to clean up the planet.
So the,
He said, I have one life, let me help with the environment. So he became, he runs a big firm, and they do these big environmental projects. Like there's a river in Manhattan called the Kiwanis River, most polluted site east of the Mississippi River. So bad. His company engineered a way to take all this polluted water, pump it out of Kiwanis Bay, send it to a reclamation center, separate the oil from the water, make the oil industrially good, and make the water drinkable. So they took the poisons and they figured out a way. And now you gotta understand, to get permits to bury lines underneath Manhattan, you have to make sure that it's not next to any methane or any other substance that could cause an explosion or a fire underneath the ground. So he does that. But when he was growing up, 12 or 13, he said, Dad, I want to become Jewish. He said to me, I never said you have to become what I am. He chose to be Jewish, which meant, according to Jewish law, it's the religion of the person is not the father, it's the mother, because the mother spreads the culture, she spreads the food, the man provides, but how she makes a home is that's how she's rated in Jewish philosophy. The other thing is we have these writings, just like all of those writings of the Buddha, the complete text. We have what we call the Talmud, which is a separate writing. The most important thing that a Jew can do is become a scholar, just like Bhikkhu Bodhi. You know, Bhikkhu Bodhi, yeah, just like him. Man. I look at him, he's a Jewish guy from Queens. He's one of mine, the foremost specialist in Pali. It's like, where's the connection here? Maybe there is a connection.
Bhikkhu Bodhi's parents' house in Long Island.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's such a brilliant guy. I've heard him lecture. I've constantly reading the one he did on dependent origination, which I have to get that understood so that I could build on it. I'm learning it through repetition. The only thing I realize is that if I don't keep repeating, I keep forgetting. It's either I'm going down or I'm going up. So, you know, it's so at any rate, we separate out the scholars from the lay community. They don't have to fight in the wars, which is a big thing, because in a small population, nobody wants to fight. You don't have a country. So it's just very important that, you know, so they dedicate their lives, these ultra-Orthodox, just to study. And now there's a big argument saying, look, studying is very important, it's idealistic, but you have to save your life so you can breathe tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that's the big thing.
We can learn, actually modern society can learn many things, as like how one can enjoy the family life, and the unity, and the strong mindset, hard working, and build up their career and life positively. It's a good example for that. This good example with
For life.
Jewish community.
Yeah.
So Howard's son, according to his explanation, Howard is not just a father. He has done wonderful service, producing handing over a great human being to this mankind, this society, who is useful and helpful for the society. He is not a burden to the society. He is doing wonderful service through his profession as an engineer, environmental engineer. So, Howard, what can you say about more? Already we know very good facts, very good things from your life as well as your culture. What can you say about more? You said education. Can you explain about how?
Well, Josh went to the university in New Orleans. The name of the school is Tulane, and he studied engineering there. In the United States, you have to take an exam like a doctor to practice engineering. Which what it really means, Bante, if you make a mistake, they could sue you because you're a professional engineer. You write your name on a document,
Right.
and they find fraudulence, you lose your license there. So it's very important that they have the rules and they set them up. My son is a lot like me in many ways. I always encouraged him. I encouraged him to run and be a track star and go out there and be physical. And he said, "Dad, I want to become Jewish." And the rabbi looked at him and said, came over to me and said, "You know, this boy is special." He says, if he wanted to become a rabbi, he could be a religious leader. I said, "What? You're telling me this is higher?" This rabbi said that this kid who is not even considered Jewish under Jewish law because the religion is the mother, it's good sense. The mother is going to stay with the baby. Anybody could be the father. It's like, it's, I think I could find a picture. Excuse me, Bobby. Oh boy, am I dizzy.
So careful.
Yeah.
So I'm talking with Howard Levine, a wonderful gentleman, as my neighbor. I learned him many things. He's a wonderful and very good friend, good practitioner. As a neighbor and friend, he likes meditation.
Go ahead.
He likes learn things. He likes reading. He has done a lot to this mankind. We can go.
This is a secret ritual that Jews go under. It's called laying the tefillin. See? And there are, well, you can't see it. He's wearing this box on his head.
Right.
This box has a handwritten prayer in here. And to see the way he's wrapping his arms,
Right.
this is all of this here, symbols. This box is going to the heart, and this box is going to the mind.
Okay. This box.
And
is
that,
going to mind.
yeah,
It's going to heart.
right. You see, because it's pointing right in this direction. Now they wrap their hand, I think 6 or 7 times. Then they put it over here, and then they wrap his fingers so that he wraps 2 around here and another 3. But it's a ritual that explains
How to become a Jewish.
how part of the conversion process that he had to go through for this rabbi to sign his name that he is Jewish.
He became
Converted.
a member of Jewish community.
Right, and whatever, which means that if the world is picking on the Jews, he will be one, but we seem to always stay half a step ahead of what's coming. Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to see, this is Hebrew here.
Okay.
It's like the totofot bein einecho means I wrap myself. Totofot bein einecho. So my son got me interested, and I became so interested in faith that I would go every Saturday. And I was not interested in the social part. I was interested in the intellectual part. How did these human beings put this philosophy of life together? How did you survive? How did you manage? Well, given a gift, you know. It's or you did what needed to be done. I like that phrase in Buddhism.
So you are a grandfather, and you have grandkids from your son.
Yes.
So what are the names and how many?
Josh has 3 boys. Asher, biblical. There were 12 tribes of Israel, and the tribe of Asher was in the north, and they were seamen and merchants. So they had the boats that were traveling around, selling the food to the different islands or whatever. So that's it's just our highest values are to be a student, to study. That's the key essence of our value. However, it's also to be practical. Sometimes you could be enthusiastic and not practical. That's me. I don't care whether it's practice or not.
Right.
I'm going. The boat left, and I'm going to be on it. Wherever we're going, I'm going. Yeah.
I met myself, Howard's son, last Thanksgiving day night. So I had to talk to him, and we had a good discussion. So this is about discussion of Howard's life and his family, as well as his journey so far. Next time we will discuss about Howard's daughter and Howard's beloved wife Ruth, also with us here. We will talk with her next time too. Thank you very much for all these opportunities and all this information. Our effort is, having got all this information, what kind of lessons we can give to the society to build up a strong and peaceful generation for future world. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, Bante.
So it is December 18 morning. So I'm with Howard Levine. He's going to explain about his children. We discussed about his son already. How is your daughter? What can you say about your daughter from her childhood?
My daughter, Rachel, and I had a very special relationship. I was a mentor to her, and she was the spark that caused me to transition from an artist in a big loft in New York into an apartment where, for the year that she was born, all I had was a table, and it was a small table in a hallway, and I worked every day with the same size paper because I had no other room. So for 1 year, every day I would go into this little closet and do some work while learning how to be a parent and taking care of her. I always encouraged Rachel to go for it and try it. She developed a passion for horses. So when we had a horse on this property here, and when she was 11 and 12, 13, a child becoming a woman, she had this great love of competition, riding the horses, going in shows, always competing for awards. And at one time, if I took you up into her room and I showed you all those blue ribbons, I says, Bante, you know how much these cost me? Every time she goes into a contest, you pay an entrance fee, then you compete. It's the way the horsey set operates. But two interesting stories that parallel our life is that prior to having a child, when Ruth and I were just a couple, we had this black cat. And Ruth loved the cat the way she loves her birds, and she was so affectionate. And the day that I drove up to bring the baby into the house, the cat ran out and was hit by a car. Children came to me and they said, "We think your cat was hit by a car." So I went scrambling, and yes, the cat was run over by a car. So before anybody knew or anything, I brought one of these black bags. I put the dead cat in, and I removed it. Then I took it somewhere, dug it up, and buried it. So when she asked me where the cat went, I said, I don't know. The cat is gone. But Rachel, it appeared like the cat could not tolerate somebody else coming in there. So when we were preparing the place to do the diapers of the baby, clean the baby and everything, there was no room. There was no room to do anything. Now I'm flash. She as she loved horses so much, and she was in competition riding, it was also very stressful. So she was getting ready for a big event, and she was training with her teacher, the one that coaches her, and she was going over a jump, and the horse refused to go over the jump, but her body flew off the horse, and she landed in her face in mud from head to toe. Bante,
The horse?
her, as she flew over, her teacher said, "Get back on that horse right now. If you don't, you'll never get back on the horse. Because once you get that fear, you can't do it." So she blamed herself because she did not give the horse the proper instructions.
Right.
So essentially, she was blaming herself for causing this accident. So she was crying at night. I had to go into the bedroom and say, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" "Oh, it was all my fault. I'm such a failure. I could not do this." And I said to her, "Rachel, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen." The kitchen being your love of horses, whatever it is, everything requires some suffering to get where you're going. It's not just given to you.
That's a beautiful expression. Say it again. If you
It can't take the heat, leave the kitchen. Nobody's got a door there saying, if you can't be a hero to yourself,
Right.
who are you going to be a hero to?
Right. Okay, so that's a good point. So you explained about the horse, how Rachel ride horse that time and what happened that. So we will start again from that.
Okay. Rachel loved her horses. Boy, did she love them. And I used having a horse tied together with learning about responsibility. It's not just putting on the saddle and having fun with the horse, but every single day you have to go in there and sweep out the urine, or else they get a disease in their feet. And that it becomes worse of a problem. So for a young girl to learn responsibility, yes, I love these animals, but they require care. Stuck with her. She was a vegetarian by spirit.
Rachel?
Excuse me?
Rachel is vegetarian?
I would say 90%.
So can you explain, according to her character, her situation, how do you see her kindness, compassion towards to the family and others?
Well, first let's talk about a movie set, because I've heard people say this about Rachel when she's working in the movies, where you have a whole group of people working together to make a project. Rachel always felt she wanted to be part she wanted to be in the middle of it all. She didn't like being a sideliner. When she was at the university too, she rode competitive horse riding, and it just was a challenge in life for her. And so that's it. She was one great child.
Right. How did she enter to the movie industry, film industry?
Well, good question. She was very successful when she was young. She traveled with this other man that was very successful, and they went all over the world doing projects Rachel did a movie in the Czech Republic. She did a movie in Europe.
She's good with photography and things.
Yes, photography, but then when you make a movie, you have to know about the science of lighting, and you have to know how to create shadows. They manipulate reality. That's why a Buddhist monk would like them, because you see how they work to achieve the appearance of something when it's all made up, you know.
Right.
It's she kept doing projects, TV commercials, movies, and then the writers in the industry a couple of years ago had a strike, and they closed down the whole movie industry. The people that, by the way, in a movie, the most important thing is the script, the words. It's not just the pictures, but it's pictures and words that make the 1-2 punch. You know, it's like you have a caption of 6 words or 2 lines, and then you have a picture of it. The learning goes right home to where it's supposed to be. The problem that I find as I'm over 80 now is I used to have such a sharp memory. Now, right in the middle of a sentence, I go blank. What happened to my thought? So I find I have to, it almost creates more desire and anxiety for me to push even harder, because I realize that I'm very finite.
But
I don't exist, and I'm leaving with nothing. But this is what I'm leaving.
But I am doing the discussion with the young person, young Levine.
Yeah.
I feel that, I don't feel you are, I'm talking with the 80-year-old guy. I don't feel that.
No.
I don't feel, I'm talking with the young guy.
Yeah, well, I do feel that, and I had this, always had good energy, and it was from the lessons of my parents. Very early I was taught, if there's something to do it now. Don't say, oh, there's something to do, I'll come back to it. Because when you come back to it, you're not going to do it. If you see something that needs to be done, that's the time for action. And I keep it a Buddhist. I did what I had to do. did that. So Rachel grew up here. She grew up in the country. Went to university. She was a communications major.
What is the university she went?
University of Delaware, the same place where the president lives.
Delaware.
The other one, not the new one now.
The Pennsylvania area.
Yeah. Well, that's where Ruth's family comes from. In fact, her family, as I said, were farmers. Ruth's family were farmers, and they were here in the 1700s. And they managed a big farm until they used to grow tomatoes for Campbell's soup. That big brand. Everybody ate Campbell's soup growing up, So they grew the tomatoes, and then when they sold their farm, they sold the farm to the city, and the city built the town's airport. So the whole farm, they gave them a lot of money, the city, to take their land and make an airport in the Philadelphia area. So that's their fame.
So any unforgettable incident with your daughter when she is doing sports or riding horses and in university time, whenever?
Yes. Well, we used to go and watch her competitions all the time. And then when she got to the university, the way have you heard the word equestrian? That's associated with horses. they had an equestrian team that would compete against other universities. She was on that team. And what it's called is a cross country, where they go out in a race, but they got to go over jumps and go through water and go up hills and down. It's not like you're on a track where you're going straight, but you're really riding. And it shows how you could manage that horse. You have to love that horse, but that horse has to respect you and do whatever, you know. The problem when you're competing in college is they give you a number. You're number 22. Okay, they go, number 22, take 27. That's your horse. Number 23, take 18. And they give you the horse, so you don't even know the horse that you're riding. When you ride a horse, you become familiar with their personality. You know what makes them happy. If they do something that you don't like, you have a way of correcting them that's not harsh, but teaches them the way you want it. So understanding animal behavior is something. She always thought, well, maybe I'll become a vet. And she started working with veterinarian like the doctor who passed away. You know, she always had a sensitivity for animals. And so that's how she developed compassion for other living people.
So she has good compassion.
I would say so, yes. She's in a very difficult situation, and she's doing a great job. And I told her you should never have to worry about money. Don't you ever think of money. You think of what you're going to do, the money will come to you. You will make that. But you just keep doing what you believe in.
Right.
That's hard when somebody's my father. What are you doing? Be practical. Get a civil servant job. You know, become a bus driver. You're gonna, every day, you're gonna work. You know what I mean? It's a steady income. When I moved out of New York, when I had my studio where I was working, creating art all the time, when my wife Ruth became pregnant with Rachel, that changed my whole life. Then I had to decide, how am I going to support this child and this woman? So I became a teacher, and then I went and I got different teaching jobs, and I found out that I really love teaching. In other words, I love sharing, I love coaching, I love getting somebody to make achievement that they didn't, not only my own children, but all the students that I came in contact with. You know, I would be able to get the best out of them. I also, I guess this is from my mother, I had 2 children. I was a foster parent, or what we call a big brother parent, which is, I took this boy that lost his father at 11, and I brought him into my household, and he lived with us. Sometimes my children were a little jealous that their daddy was with some other boy, but I taught them that he didn't have a father, and I became very friendly with him. He became a big lawyer for the government. I get a letter 10 years ago saying to me, I just want you to know I'm saying thank you for what you did. At that time of my life, when I lost my father, my whole world changed.
Oh.
And you stepped in, and he would always say, am I seeing you this week? Am I seeing you this weekend? So
that's a good sign of your kindness and compassion.
Well, but that's what my children saw. See, that's what they saw. So you don't have to say, I want you to be this way. You can't command that.
That's true.
You have to be the example of that.
Great.
And no hypocrisy. Or don't lie to yourself or to anybody else. That's the hardest part, is the lies we tell ourselves, the delusions. that we live under.
So, what kind of other things you can say about your daughter? Her talent and her success and her marriage life. You can start her marriage life. How did she get married?
She's had a very difficult person on the social scale. The people that she loved didn't want to love her, and the people that she didn't want loved her. I'm in the middle. I try to use wisdom by making you are the author of your own life, and you made these choices. So where you are now is a sum total of the decisions and choices that you made. So if you choose this person, it's questionable, but I have to give you the benefit of the doubt and hope that things would turn out good. But Bhante, you and I know human nature. We see things before the other person hasn't taken off their coat. We're beyond them because you have great insight into human nature. Well, being an artist is the same way, but you're always trying to understand, find your style, find what's important to say, and then say it. Don't tell me about it, show me. I would always say, prove it to me by the actions. We are still very close. And I love the granddaughters now. They have places in my studio that they could go in there and go to their section and sit and work for hours, or under the breezeway when it's nice. Just walk in there, see these little kids, your grandchildren, doing what you love to do. You spent your whole life doing it. Is like, it's nice, but
good. So
good. Enough said. Don't ask me any more questions
So
about
then, how about you as an artist? What can you say about you? How did you started, and what was your interest, and what was your goal, and how was your successful in your area as an artist?
When I look back at my mind and the way it works, it usually goes in 5-year cycles where I develop an interest on something. Something in my stomach tells me that I should address this topic. It's like a little stomach ache. I feel it right in here. It's palpable. You know that you're feeling it. I say, okay, put that aside. When it comes back 3 or 4 times with the same ache, that's the one that I should be doing, because that registers a temperature that I want. So I trained myself to learn the skills that were necessary to accomplish what I wanted to do. Because I had a good work ethic, I could work very hard, and those were my happiest times. Bhante, I am so happy when I'm alone and working. I could bury myself in the dirt and just come up for dinner when it's ready. But I could work like 2 men, It's like I prided myself on that. That's where the long distance running came in, or like take these ridiculous challenge. A marathon is 26 miles.
We talk about that later.
Yeah, that's
So as an artist,
as an artist. I just keep you will see it's easier for me to show you visually how my thinking went from one thought to the other, but I usually build on a theme. And so there were major themes in my life.
did you start in your school time, childhood?
Yes, when I was in 4th grade in elementary school, and the teacher said, "Is there anybody that wants to do the bulletin board with studying birds this month?" "Oh, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it." I loved creating art. I felt complete satisfaction. If I did something beautiful and I made it and I thought about it, and I had some failures, but I had a lot of successes by that.
So you doing the drawing as well as sculptures.
Right. So drawing helps you get your ideas, and you will see when you look through my drawings, studies of anatomy where you see me drawing every muscle or every bone in the hand. You become so knowledgeable. It's like you reading all the Tripitaka backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. You know it so well that you don't have to worry. You even know where it is if you don't know it. So you could go there and check it. That's the way I felt. I developed through college, high school. I was interested in the arts, but it goes way back. When I would see great art, it would make me cry. Tears would come down my eyes and say, "Wow, a human being made that with his hands. I got hands." You know, I would just say, how did you get all that skill that you could just command it? And a lot has to do with confidence. You have to believe that as you seek, you will find. Sometimes you will find the wrong thing, but you will find something, you know. And being an artist is you're living your life on your own terms. Everything I do, nobody said, "You have to do this, here's a gun at your head, you have to come." People tried to say, "I will give you $25,000, you do this, or I'll do this for you." And one of these days I'll bring you over to the synagogue over there, because I built some beautiful windows for them. They had a big party and it was written up in the newspaper, but they're beautiful windows that express such powerful stuff. It's like I fixed the Buddha. You can fix any faith because they're all broken.
That's true. It's all cracked. Big, big
features.
Big crack.
Yeah. So I mean.
So did you go any art school?
Oh yes. I've been to. I have a undergraduate degree from Pratt Institute, which is it's in Brooklyn, New York. It's one of the most famous art schools in our country. Pratt and Cooper Union was the other one.
What is the degree you get there?
You get a BFA cum laude, Bachelor of Fine Arts, and then you have a specialty, and you work on a specialty as a thesis. That's your term paper, and then they decide to grant it to you. So you get cum laude means with honors. So I graduated with honors. Then I went to graduate school to get a master's degree and get a teaching license. because I finally figured out
The master's also in art
art education.
education.
And that enabled me to get a teaching job.
Where was your first
My
appointment?
first teaching job was for the Smithtown Central School District, right next to Port Jefferson,
Long Island.
right on Long Island. I taught for 7 years in Smithtown, and then they came and got me, recruited me, invited me to come work in West Hampton. They
Sometime.
say, so when somebody applies for a job in education, you give them your folder and you walk away. They're taking me out to lunch. We're going to make you an offer. You can't. You have a reputation on Long Island because you worked in gifted education and you helped the most talented students, but you also took care of the people that this may be a hobby or they have no interest. Not everybody has the same interest in everything. So you have to find where your heart lives.
West Hampton.
West Hampton.
So what? How was there, and what you did? And
West Hampton was a great teaching career. It was a very wealthy district, and they also got tuition from other students that didn't live in West Hampton to come to the school. So they were one of the wealthiest school districts in New York State. The problem is in public education, you're not allowed to make a profit. It's not a profit like a business. It's what's best for the children. How can you teach the children? You're an idealist. It's like, you make a difference in people's lives. You change a person that you give somebody confidence that doesn't have confidence because their parents always beat them down or their circumstances in life out of their control affected them. So that's creating art, being a creative individual to me is as noble a way to live a life as anybody, and I have no regrets, and I'm not sorry that things worked out, and I own all my mistakes. And I make a lot of them, Bante. You just don't see them. You don't see them because I hide them.
So, that expression shows and says your nobleness, your higher position of your life. People always give the fault to somebody else.
Oh.
But your way is something different.
Own it.
So
own,
that is
we own our own thoughts.
Right.
I own my actions. And boy, have I made mistakes, so I can't throw any rocks at anybody else because they're making a mistake that I already made. Right. It's like...
This is Howard Levine here, and he's explaining about his life as well as his family.
In New York, I'm going to talk a little bit about my first studio that I went to when I was 18 years old. And it was very interesting because I shared it with an old man who was 80 years old. His name was Morris Frank. He was a very old artist. And I was 18. So I was a young bull in that. And he was an old man.
So
every afternoon, let me tell you, we would sit down. He was a bit of an alcoholic. He would take a glass of vodka. I think drink it like water, you didn't know. And then he would start reciting poetry, deep spiritual poetry. And he says all mystical teachings from various faith practice. And he would say, and he'd look at me and say, I'm sharing all these jewels with you, swine. And he's calling me a swine, like a know-nothing, you know. But then, when I'd be working, he'd be over my shoulder saying, what is he doing, you know? What is he doing? So I had a relationship with this older man that only somebody could have with his grandfather. He can't have that same relationship with his father, because his father is the authority figure. The guy that sets your goal, or who you work with, who's doing the same thing you're doing, it's a different meaning. So transitioning from artist, single artist, I could work all night or do anything, to just liking my life. I was doing what I wanted. I was in Manhattan. I was going to all the shows. I found work as, believe it or not, I did art moving, which meant that I would take these masterpieces of art from art history and bring them to a museum or bring them to a gallery. I was doing this as a job that paid me, you know. It's like, or going to a gallery and bringing it to some rich person uptown in New York. So I did that for a while, got the degree, and decided teaching became my profession. I was very happy because Ruth was a teacher, so we had the incomes of 2 people, and we did everything we wanted to do, and it didn't have to be that extravagant, but we traveled all over.
What are the countries you traveled, and how was
I won't remember them all, but I've traveled a lot. I've been in Russia, I've been in China, Italy, of course. I loved Italy so much, I went over to work in the quarries with these, they call it, the Italian word is artigiano. They're artisans. And I think even in Sri Lanka, you had the guy, like the person that did that Buddha. Well, these guys just work on a church art or whatever, monuments in city squares and things, fountains they design, you know. So if I would have been one of the creators, if I was Sri Lankan, I would have been one of that group of people that I would be culturally important to the country, because I would represent Sri Lanka. We produce this musician or this artist.
You have done a big artwork when you were in Italy. You have started. Can you explain about that?
Going to Italy and working with these masters of stone, they marble, they have the quarries there. First, I was in the mountains of the quarries to see how they take the marble out of the mountain. They got a laser light that makes a straight line in the stone, and with a diamond chainsaw. In other words, the chain, it's on a chain where the saw is sawing the marble, going onto that laser light. So they take out 20 tons, 2,000 pounds is a ton. They take 20-ton cubes of marble out of the mountain. You see a truck where the front of the truck is up like this. Then the big crane comes and puts this 20 tons of marble on this truck, and the truck goes from here all the way down the weight. Now they got to carefully drive this down a mountain to get it into the city where they have the machines. Big circular saws that size. Most of that marble is used for architecture, lobbies and big buildings. They're the epicenter of of marble work on the planet. So if you want to learn what they do, you got to do what they do. And I had some great teachers. And then I also learned what I needed to know to accomplish other things. So my education, we traveled. I was in Greece and Italy, all over the south of Italy, and Greece. All of these countries have long histories of art. I mean, you talk about talking about the Buddhist time. We're talking about a lot of things that were happening.
So that marble art you made, you started from Italy.
Yes, and I had.
How many years took it to finish?
Well, I kept working on it, and the biggest question that I still, how do you know when you're done? How do you know when this is enough? You know, I observed you're an artist because you know exactly when to stop talking. You say, I could tell my audience is tired. Well, I'm throwing my words on dead ears. You say, it's time to stop. I like that. I like the other guy, you know, but he never shut up. He never knew when to stop. You know what I mean?
Correct.
He wouldn't, it got to a point where you need to take an intermission. I gotta get a drink of water. You know, it's like, but at any rate, people will reveal what you need to know to help them. They'll tell you where they are. Whether you can help or not is questionable, because people have to understand the dynamics of change, and there is a little anxiety when you get out of your comfort zone. We all have a zone that keeps us comfortable and protected. If you step out of there and get blasted with something, you come back in there and shut the door. It's like, you know,
Some people are not happy about their profession, but still they do work as a job or as their hobbies, but people don't like, cannot see as they are happy. But as an artist and as a teacher, what is your contentment and satisfaction?
well, I think a teacher should be a nurturer, and I always try to give my students permission to be great. I'm the teacher, I'm the boss, I give you permission to be great. Come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And the more times they hear it, then they get out of their shell a little bit. You gotta, here's a cookie, whatever it takes. There's no one method, because everybody learns different. I was a tactile learner. I had good hands, so I learned through my hands. I had a good analytical visual mind. So to draw, there's only 3 ways to draw. You draw from your imagination, you draw from life, you're my model and I'm drawing you, or you just you try to bring out the best that the kid has to offer, and also be firm, and when they're telling you baloney or nonsense, you call them out. They like honesty more than baloney. Just, you know, so West Hampton, when they offered me a job, they said, we're going to give you this job for life. Nobody does that teaching now. You can't go in a district and say, we want you to be here. He drove me around that dune road where all those mansions are. He says, this school district doesn't have money problems. In fact, there's a state law that a school district can't make money in education. Every year they're supposed to do a budget and they're supposed to spend up to that budget, regardless of whether they need it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, because our school district was a school district that sold tuition to other towns that had their interest in going to West Hampton, West Hampton did a lot of public relationship to attract all these people, because every child or every head that comes in there costs the district $20,000 a year to educate that kid. What the school district was wise, they took 5 of their best teachers or 5 of their personality people, and they made us salesmen for the school district. In other words, they say, okay, Howard, why don't you come by Tuesday nights, or parents are coming to, and describe your program. Tell them what you're doing. We want this. I would do that because I was a good spokesman for the district, and if your kid was into music, they should come here. If your child was into sports, if your child wants to become a doctor, we have all the advanced courses in chemistry and sciences that they need to continue. So they built me a computer graphics lab. In 1986, the state of computer graphics was nil. I was flying around New York State demonstrating these computers to people and saying, this is the revolution. This is when there were just little pixels, like Apple was failed, but they were just little pixels that would go, didn't even look like graphics. Today, now, you take computer graphics, they look like a photograph. You can't tell where they come from because of the chips. They invented these chips. So they put a lab, invested for the school district to teach the most advanced stuff going on. Because first, I knew it. I became the expert. I even had people in Manhattan that hired me. They would pay me $375 a day to drive in, and the guy had a big mansion on Madison Avenue, richest area in Manhattan, billionaires. I went into him and I taught him computer graphics. And he said, he's the one who I taught him the basics of animation, how to make things move, and how to get shadows to move, and it's just all this stuff. So that was it was a very good period. And I told the district, they came over to me, they said, look, Howard, we have a few $1,000s in the budget left. How would you like to have a $35,000 printer? So I look at the guy that wants to give me this $35,000. I said, do you think we're a Madison Avenue advertising house that we have to have the best equipment on the planet? We are a high school introducing kids. Don't give me a $35,000 piece of equipment that a kid will never see unless he works in the industry. But the idea is that technology goes so quickly, and the people, if it's your job to keep up, if you don't keep up with the developments, you're going backwards. It's like an escalator, you know. So the district, I had a very happy career, and I love the students. And when you read, I have beautiful letters written by my students and articles that students wrote about me as a teacher at the school. So everything that I'm saying you will hear it from different voices.
So I feel and I see, as an artist, you are a happier person and you enjoy your life as well as you enjoy the nature, environment, animal life, all animal kingdom. You enjoy everything. For your point of view, I see everything is an art for you. So, according to your experience and your knowledge, what is the message you can give to the new generation for in this world?
Well, the motto of Pratt Institute is be true to your art, and your art will be true. In other words, be true to your art. What does that mean? Buddhism says excessive enthusiasm is no good. I live on obsessive. I think that's one of the things that this annoying irritability has to constantly be stroked one day. Has to be cultivated. The problem that I have is I do get angry, and I do have explosions of anger, and the only thing I could say in terms of improvement with that is I understand when I'm angry, and I see that that's time to postpone it, or to if you're angry and unhappy and full of grievance, how could you feel comfortable enough to venture out and do something when you're afraid that I'm going to beat you down, or I'm not going to allow you to? People always find excuses for why they can't do it. Oh, I can't help myself. Can't help it. Well, who's going to help you if you can't help yourself, you know? You know, it's like, that's...
So a new generation, what can you say for them to success and make a safer world? What can you say for them?
My definition of success, what I consider success, is progress towards any worthy goal. If you have a worthy goal, you want to repopulate the lobsters in the Sound. I love where that's coming from, but you extremists, I think it's great because everybody that can afford lobster has a tender sore in their foot to have a lobster. So you say, go and get these lobsters. We're going to put them in a boat and drive them out to the water. I think it's great. I just tell you.
Swimming upstream.
Or I love being near you because you have studied how to be calm, and you always settle me. Sometimes I come in like revved up and out of control, and I need a pail of water to be thrown me. But also, Bande, it's the most beautiful thing in the world to work all night in peace and quiet. And the only person you're sharing your ideas, your thoughts with, is coming out in this image. Everything that I've ever created, I know, has infinite variety of choices. I made these choices, and we talked about when do you know it's time to do. Truth of the matter is you're never done. So you quietly put things down. But what I really think is healthy is to do many things at the same time. You always accomplish more that way. You do an hour here, your hands are tired, you can't see anymore, you rest, you come back and you work a half hour here. I used to do that all day. Now, and I accept it, I accept it's normal aging. You can't expect to have the same energy that you had when you were 30. You know, maybe. I'm doing all right. You know, it's like, the teaching, finished that career, I loved it. I made a living at it. My art flourished. I was successful in the ways that other people measure success is, how much money do you make? How much money do you make, Bhante, by being a monk? It's not about money. It's not, you're not looking for the extra $50. That's going to make a difference. You know, it's like, so, yes. And now I'm just trying to learn and study and understand the state of mind that I'd like to be when I'd like to pass away in a peaceful way and a way of my own control where it's time for me to leave. I love you all. Goodbye. But, you know, it's like I want to prepare so that there's no misunderstandings of what I need to do. I said I love working with my hands. I love acting. I'm a physical, tactile person. I'm not, my wife is a sequential. Two types of approaches to mind. I come from emotion. My roots take water in emotions and feelings.
Very good. So let's come to a different position. What can you say about the Long Island, this area, 40 years ago, and who are the popular recognized people around here, and from 40 years, since 40 years to now, what is the difference, and what do you see, how do you see that changes? The change in nature, impermanent nature, practically it's in front of us. How was it 40 years ago? What is this?
40 years ago,
Sound Avenue. How was the Sound Avenue?
Yeah. The North Fork was a completely different place. At one time, 40 years ago, 1979, 1980, getting my job in West Hampton Beach enabled me to live here. I lived in Huntington, and that's when I was teaching in Smithtown. I had a 13-minute commute every day. I was never in traffic on the Long Island Expressway. So this is my location. There'd be one time, I have old pictures of our house. I could show you the photographs. It was different. I had a hammock that you could take a nap on the porch. Just a hook here and a hook here, and you lie down, and somebody drives by, they'll hit their horn, and you'll wave like you knew everybody because
like
they were all passing.
Like a village.
Right, like a village. A lot of the English settled this area, and they ran the farms, and then other immigrant groups came, Eastern European, Polish, and Hungarian, and all the Eastern European people. Some people had farms here for many generations. Long Island was famous first for growing potatoes because the people that grew them were teetotalers. You know what that means? They drink no alcohol. They were very strict. So they can't grow grapes. That's the ingredient in wine that makes you feel warm and comfortable. That was against their faith. It's just like dancing and singing was against. Life is stern and rigid, and so that's why we had root vegetables like all the cauliflower. I could show you a picture. Once Ruth and I went to a costume party, and she was a broccoli and I was a cauliflower. And I could show you a picture of me all green hair, and she had all this white hair. So we were two vegetables that came to this party. Yeah.
So it's a big changes you see?
Yes, I see it. The traffic, it's been discovered. Once the vineyards started coming, this is a perfect one-day trip for people living in New York. If they got up early and they got out here, they could spend the whole day. By 7 o'clock, they could start going home, be home by 8:30, 9 o'clock. So a lot of people come out here to get fine wine, to get vegetables, to buy what this place has to offer. Now real estate, this Grange Hall was part of the old locals. 1832, they were like David Wines, you might have met. He's the head of the Halleckville. Ruth was a part of that group too. But yeah, it's different. We plan our lives differently. I try not to leave my driveway going east on a Saturday. You can't do it. Traffic is so great, you can't go across to make a left turn. Making a right turn is easier because you see what's coming, but the traffic is coming. A lot of times people are sitting in the bars all day. So not only they don't know the roads, but they're half drunk too, which makes it even more dangerous. And that's what they recreate. People come here to drink a couple of bottles of wine and then buy a case of it and take it home. It's very big, and this area, by the way, is perfect. Newcomers came that weren't from the old group, discovered that wine, this soil, and these weather conditions are just the same as the Bordeaux, France. Bordeaux, France is a region where they grow grapes and they make wine. And this area is just like that. What that means is they have a long growing season because the grapes, they leave until November before they harvest them, or early October. It's so scientific that they're measuring the sugar content of each grape, and then they know exactly when the perfect time to pick it is. Reaches a certain time, it's time to harvest it. So it's very different, but I still love this area naturally. Look what we have. We have a treasure back here. I used to run when I was cross-country running. We would run, or we would take our skis and go cross-country skiing. Are you okay? Can I get you anything?
No. What is the memory that you have about the Grange Hall long time ago?
Our Thanksgiving dinner that we put together with Paula and everything sent me right back there. They always, around Thanksgiving, had a potluck dinner where everybody in the community brings a dish, or they sit down and they have a early first Thanksgiving. If it wasn't for the Native Americans, the people that came here and landed in Jamestown would have died. The Indians saved them by showing them how to grow corn and showing them how to make foods. They froze to death, and it was the Native Americans, the ones that we put into slavery. Those are the ones that helped us survive. We're wicked people, us white eyes. It's like, how was the grandchild? Then
how was it designed like that, and how it came here?
Oh,
Who
okay.
built it?
The Grange movement was a secular organization. Secular meaning non-church or non-related. Secular means just outside.
Independent.
Yeah. Now, the question you asked me was, how did this come by?
Who owned the first?
Okay. It was a cooperative, and several farmers would join the Grange movement, and it was a movement of getting farmers to share farming equipment, helping each other with the harvest. Say you owned a $100,000 potato harvester, and you finished your fields, the machine is sitting, so then you bring it over to the other guy's farm and he does his field. So they shared work things. They was a cooperative, so you member of a cooperative, you're entitled to use the benefits of that. They even ran a presidential candidate in 1835. The Grange movement, they ran somebody that ran for president. So they were a politically powerful group.
That time.
But yes, at that time. A lot of the people that are from the North Fork who were born here were pro-England. They didn't want a revolution in this country. They had it too good. The King of England, if I worked in your Navy and I was like William Penn or somebody, I brought English goods around the world and English products and English whatever I brought. That was my,
Who built the building?
the Grange movement, the people that were in power. Yeah, they built that in 1832, and you see that Grange signature that you have in the front of the building. Yeah. By the way, I had many interesting illustrations that I did of both of these buildings. I don't know if I ever gave you them, but I can make available to you. I have the early drawings of this and certain images that I do have. So I could illustrate what I'm talking about too.
So you said the people used to come with their horses. They ride horses and.
Yeah, they would go ride horses in the back. What a group! That was the people who lived right next door to you. The Murphys, their name was. They were in the funeral business. That's a good business. People are dying to get into the grave. Yeah, it would come with the. They were in England. You know the Fox Club where they would release the foxes and the foxes would run and then they'd ride after them and catch them. It was a big, rich upper class sporting event. It wasn't like Western or cowboy or working horses, but it was, yeah.
So I'm talking with Howard Levine. So many things we discussed. about his life, his family, his education as an artist. He has many different areas. One of them is artist. He's a successful, unique artist. So we will discuss about his other areas like sports, athletics, and actor, something like that later. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, Bante.
Nice to see you today.
I'm happy to be here.
So, after a year, today is January 6, 2025.
Correct.
So, we are going to discuss about your youth as well as your sports, that around that section of that
of
area.
my life.
Yeah.
I think back at when I was a young boy, before maybe first grade, my parents sent me to a summer camp. And this camp was for organized activities for children. And I was a baseball player at the time. And my aunt, my mother's sister, worked at this camp. And they threw a ball, and I hit the ball so hard that the ball broke in half. I was like, wow, this guy hit the ball so hard that the ball broke. And that would never happen in the sport. So I got the reputation of being a very strong, and I enjoyed competition, and I was not afraid to take risk. I enjoyed the competition. As I grew older, I became a football, but we're not talking about American football, a soccer player. We call it soccer in Europe, and in the East they call it football. But I was the captain of the team. And whenever there was a free kick or something where they wanted it to be accurate and get a point, they would choose me to come and do the kick. So I got used to being called upon to do things, and I got lots of encouragement. So it was always a conflict of, do I want to go into the arts or do I want to go into athletics? And finally, I realized that the arts were far more important than sports. Sports was good, but when you're working with beauty or you're trying to say something about art and communicate with people, art is the king. All forms of art. I think that the music and the literature and the visual arts and the dance is how a culture defines itself, not by how many weapons and how many missiles and how many bullets they could shoot at people, but hey, this man is a maker and he's a doer. He's not a destroyer. He's a builder. I always carry that, and I got encouragement from my father to think that way. Don't be lazy. If there's a job, do it right and right now. Don't wait I got this job, I'll do it tomorrow. And after that.
So as well as you were very good
runner in athletics. You were very good with that. How is
Yes. Again, I didn't mind to do the necessary work to train. When I chose to be a long distance runner, that was considered, originally the marathon started in Greece, in ancient Greek, where the Greeks ran these marathon races. That was considered the ultimate activity that a man could do. A man can't run 26 miles. He couldn't do it because when the first runner wanted to tell the Greeks that they won the war, he ran from Troy to Athens, which is one city, to say that we were victorious, the Spartans won, or whatever. So that became an event of stamina. And so I started training, and I transformed myself into an endurance runner. That means I could go out and train Bhante and run 10 miles at one time, or even 15 miles. In the snow, I would go out in the snow. I made no concessions to rain. I'm not going to melt. I'm not sugar. So I just like...
I'm not sugar.
Right. I'm not going to disappear. So that philosophy of doing it right or trying to get it right now, don't let it wait. My father said, you develop important habits in life, and those habits stay with you. In everything you do, you could see this is a disciplined person, this is an undisciplined person, you know. You could tell, you could look at them and give me a story on it. Just by what they say, how they think, you can figure that out. So, I was...
So you participated for the New York Marathon.
Yeah, I did. I ran in 5 marathons during those periods.
But
I ran in the New York Marathon. I ran in the Marine Corps Marathon, which is down in Washington, D.C. I ran the Long Island Marathon, the Ocean State Marathon, which is Rhode Island. I finished 3 of them. One, there's a funny story that the audience would laugh at. My stupidity, but it's funny. I wanted to run this marathon, Bhante, but in all my training, I had a fracture. I broke a bone in my toe from too much training. This is funny. Don't repeat this and get me in trouble. There was a veterinarian that I knew that was a close friend. He took care of the horse that my daughter, and we knew the children were friendly because they grew up together. I says, John, I want to run this marathon, but I have a fracture in my foot and I cannot put any weight on it. Would you give me some of that medicine they give to a horse when he has a bad knee and they want him to run? He says, Howard, he didn't touch it. He puts this tube here. He says, I don't know where this came from. Don't you ever bring my name associated with this. But here's what you do. He says you put a little bit of this on your toe and you're going to taste garlic. It goes right into your bloodstream right away and it takes away the pain. So I took this medicine and I started running this marathon. I didn't feel my foot. It was like I went to sleep.
Really?
16-mile mark, the medicine wears off, Bante, and I put my foot on the ground and I collapsed on the ground. The pain was so strong and I didn't stop to take more medicine. So turned out to be, I had to be carried off. But you see, it didn't matter because I already accomplished what I set out to do. This is more like extra gravy on the meal, to show that. So now my grandson is a fantastic runner. He's one of the best distance runners in the county. We go with Josh, my son Josh's boys. The middle one is a terrific runner. And the other one just got a college scholarship to play lacrosse. So my son took up the athleticism, and now he's going to the next generation. But I think that was a funny story, whether it gets into what we're doing or not. But that I can be very obsessive and goal-oriented. If you said to me and tell me, Howard, I want you to do this, but I know it's going to take you 3 weeks. I laugh and say, I'm going to do this in 2 weeks. I'll figure out a way that just... So that's going back to my belief in good habits. You establish good habits and you apply them to almost everything you do, whether you're a good Bante or you're a good Ajahn or what the other word, Vietnamese, the guy, the French guy, Vietnamese person just passed away. Thich Van Han.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah.
So, any unforgettable memories in your youth and you doing athletics, sports, and as an artist, whatever the areas when you are working, any unforgettable and meaningful things, if you can explain, that will be fine.
When I was a young man, and before I knew Ruth, I was an independent artist. In other words, there's my life married to her for 56 years and family, but I was a separate person before we met. She did not complete me, and I did not complete her. I had a beautiful studio, and I shared it with an old man. And he loved me, almost like the relationship that we had. Very smart, he had written several books. He had a problem with drugs, alcohol. He would sit down, he'd take a big glass and put whiskey in and drink it, and then he would start to talk to me. Sit down, I want to tell you something. And he started to teach me things about spirituality and religion, and then he would say to me, oh, why am I giving you this information? Why am I giving you? I'm throwing all these jewels before a swine. He's calling me a swine. And he's giving me all this wisdom. But I had a very special relationship because I was 20 and he was 80. So you can have a relationship with a grandfather more so than you could have with your own father because the generations skip or whatever. So I loved that man. I knew artists, very famous artists, and they would come up to my studio and they would look at my work. The whole idea was I was part of a sangha, a family of artists there, all struggling on how to make creativity and individuality. This was in the late 60s when I was just a young man, 20 years old. I used to like the ladies too, Bante, but I can't help it. The ladies like me and I like the ladies. But I have to be very careful, I understand. I have to be very careful and I have to be very strong because
Okay, very good.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
So, so I'm with Mr. Howard Levine today. We continue our discussion about his life story and important areas of his life. Would you please explain about Long Island? How 50 years ago, and what is the differences and how it affect to the community right now?
Well, there was a period of time 40 years ago when I would be raking the leaves outside, and if somebody drove by and they would toot their horn, I didn't have to lift up my head. I would go like, I knew that. And so when we came out here 40 years ago, we knew everybody. I knew the vet, I knew the doctor, I knew this, I knew the dentist. And now this place has become very discovered. We used to love to go to the farm stands and pick out the vegetables that he just harvested that morning, or go and you know that at 10 o'clock he's taking the corn. So if you get there by 11, it couldn't be fresher to cook it and eat it, you know. So you learn how to take advantage of what this place has to offer. The back, how lucky do we have a park in our backyard? I used to run when I was training for marathons. They call it cross country because you're not on a track, but you're out in the woods running, and I would run all the way to the water and run back. So that's, this place was the Grange Hall. When I was a young boy, they would have Thanksgiving the way you had it, but everybody would bring a dish. They would bring a community dish, and they would sit. So they did. But what the Grange movement, this was an organization that was non-church related. This organization, bless you, this organization was designed to help farmers harvest. They would pitch in and share equipment. So if I had a very expensive piece of equipment and we had to harvest this crop, I would loan this to you. You finish yours, then I would come and help you. So that, you know, there was a lot of exchange going on. How it's changed, it's become discovered. Now it's a destination. People come, like they drive out, spend the day and go back, or they spend a week, or they come out here because we're in a physically beautiful area surrounded with water. We have every water recreational activity, any kind of farming. This is the country. It's different than the city.
Right.
City is a city, you know, that's, but the country is a beautiful place to raise children. It's a beautiful place to have family. It's a beautiful place to have friends.
So, you like the nature
Very much so,
and
Bhante.
gardening, so on. So, can you explain something about valuable and interesting trees and wood? This Long Island.
Yes. These two trees that we have out here, the one that loses its bark, they're sycamore trees. There's only 4 of them left on Sound Avenue. There's 2 here where the branches are breaking, right? The sycamore, the multicolored ones. And then going down Sound Avenue, almost past Briarmere, there's another couple of those sycamore trees, but they're very rare. And the reason that everything falls off is they get attacked by some kind of bug that eats them and eats the skin, so then the plant rots. But we have a lot of tree growers. all different specimens of trees. You could buy trees this size to plant, or you could buy bushes. We have all kinds of types of varieties at our disposal, and so it's a good place to be. I loved it when I lived in Manhattan, and I was involved in the city world, and I knew famous people, and I would go to concerts and different events. But this is the place to raise children.
Very good. You can mention some names, the familiar names for you, maybe the teachers, friends, and government leaders, whoever.
Well, governments, I find having political opinions, you have to be careful. Everybody has their own opinion on the way things are.
No, I mean, the government leaders who did good service to the community and the country and the world. It doesn't matter whatever the party is.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter, who was a president for one term, and he was a greater man than his presidency, was a man that I admire because he had such humanistic. He wanted to end racism. He wanted to end certain diseases in Africa. He wanted to. He grew up on a peanut farm in Georgia, so his father had 6 men working in the peanut fields growing. So he was a very humble man. Then he went to Annapolis and became a nuclear engineer, and he was a commander that operated a submarine, a nuclear submarine, in charge of 300 or 400 men that are on certain submarines. And so he was a very gifted man. What I think about political information is we're always given half the story. We're never given the full story. So your opinion has been formed by other people's ideas, and I see right through that. I could see how I invented a word. I call it skonniving. And what is skonniving is scheming to take advantage, and conniving, which is cheat. Always trying to take advantage of a situation. Oh, I think that tree is going to die. Let me cut it down. I'll only charge you $500. It's like we're manipulated, aren't they? So coming here on Sunday and seeing all these beautiful people sort of agreeing with you is a wonderful thing.
Meditation group.
The group gives each other energy.
Yes.
See, that's what I see. I mean,
who else you remember the names and the teachers?
Well,
professor?
I had a great rabbi that I was very friendly with. My story with organized religion has been a very circuitous trip. There's one rabbi, his name was Chaim Gerlitz, and he said to me by the way, he was 1948 when they formed the state of Israel. He was a terrorist for the Israelis, but nobody, he had a spot. They were trying to win political power. So here he was a great man. He's the guy that's going to set up the bombs tonight. So, so that's my political view changes. I would rather perfect my own internal mind and try to do the work that I need to do. That one statement that you always say about he did what needed to be done.
Right.
What needs to be done? And who needs it? You need it.
Correct. So, how are the neighbors that you know, as like Mr. Late Neil, likewise some other?
I wasn't here Friday night because his wife was staying at our house.
Whose wife?
Neil's wife. She comes out.
What
here.
is his full name?
Neil or his wife?
Neil.
It's Cornelius. Cornelius is an Irish name. Connie Cornelius.
How him and his family established in Long Island? What do you know about him?
I know a lot about him because we were very close friends. And Neil is a remarkable person. He's helped a lot of people with mental health issues, but he's also the term profiler. He's a professional profiler. And I've heard him talk in front of lawyers or police departments. He has the ability to look through you and tell you if you are lying or not. The judge always wants to know that with the expert. Does he deserve a second chance? Or is he lying to you? They call in Neil to ask the questions, to make a determination. He's very good at that. He also worked in a jail, and he counseled with the Buddhists are a lot in the jails too, the different ones, and they see the humanity in the prisoners and what in life. Well, he did a lot of that too. When there's an airplane crash, big disaster, they call him in. When there's a hostage taken, they call him in. They call in 2 people when they have a hostage. They have a SWAT team, which means professional killers, that in a second can kill somebody, the SWAT team, or they can have negotiators that can talk them out. Before they kill somebody, they bring in Neil and say, talk to him. Can you convince him? What is he going to say? So I'm sitting with Neil because we were neighbors in Huntington, way near Smithtown and the same area, not too far from Port Jeff. We became very close friends. You could be sitting and he could look at different people and he could tell you their stories. So he is a very astute person, very sharp at what he did. He was like some monk, you know. He was, so we became very close friends and we raised our children, and I still miss him. It's funny how the husband usually forms a relationship with a friend and they become more important. I don't feel that for the wife. I wasn't the friend of the wife. I was the friend of Neil's. Neil was my friend. Neil was who I liked. And so, Neil was a runner at one time, and he was all involved. The police, he went down to where FBI was, and he took classes in the FBI on terrorism and all of that stuff. So it was like a policeman's policeman.
Yeah, Mr. Neil was a very good friend of Long Island Buddhist Meditation Center. He used to come and participate meditation sessions here. Tuesdays and Fridays. And physically, he was a tall guy,
The giant.
giant man. So he has a good, intelligent wife as well as good children. So we miss him. He passed away several months ago.
Talking about people that passed away, Dr. Charles is in my thoughts, and that gentleman.
About Dr. Charles, how you understand him, about him?
Well, I thought that he was a good vet. I mean, they gave him the responsibility of the canine group, which is training dogs. He loved animals growing up, and so he had compassion for animals. I know he was suffering a lot. His wife and I knew he came over, we spoke, we were friendly. I remember him coming into my studio and looking at my work and saying, "Boy, Howard, look at how many people you affect." But he was telling me that he appreciated the people that I affected, so
Yeah.
he was a good guy.
Dr. Charles also a very good friend of LIBMC and us. He used to participate weekly meditation programs, and also he supported to the meditation center and the community a lot. His wife Kathy and children also kind-hearted friends. We miss him. So anybody else you remember? You have in this community, neighbors, your brothers, friends, whoever.
Well, it's very interesting that my brother, who is 7 years younger than I am, I'm the oldest in the family. He's moved out here now, and when we go to Florida, remnants of whatever exists in my family are down there. So it seems like my family, my mother and parents, lived in this apartment that we have now for 35 years. They bought the apartment on blueprints. It wasn't even built. They were 50 years old. They're thinking of retiring. My father had a business, and they bought this, and they lived in Florida. We would come and visit them in the winter, or my mother loved to have entertained, so she would have the family. My mother just loved crowds of people, loved laughter. She helped many people. So important who your teachers are. So important.
That's true. So how did you meet Don, and what can you say
Don
about him?
Jai-
He's doing a lot of community services, as well as he's helping to the LIBMC a lot, and whatever the community friends needed, he do it somehow. What is your understanding about him?
Pretty much what you described. He's the oil that makes everything run. That's very important. Every religious group has got to have a few of them. It's like I see the importance of and when we took the trip together and his organization, he has a positive spirit. He's can do. He can do it. I admire him, and I see the importance for him. I wish I had a lot of money to give you. I'm just a teacher, Bundy. Pension. You gotta have it to give it. You know what I mean? You can want to give it all you want, but you're not getting fruit from this tree.
Yeah. How is your first beginning understanding of Buddhism, and how it started, and how did you meet Long Island Buddhist Meditation Center, and how you started meditation practice?
My artwork began to shift. There are different periods of time when my work looked a certain way, and the work shifted because of interests and things. Now, please ask me that question again.
You know, how did you introduce Buddhism to you?
Oh, yes.
Buddhist practice, and how did you meet LIBMC here?
Okay. At one time, I was extremely interested in the teachings of the Dalai Lama, and I read and listened to his lectures, and so I have several of his books that I studied. Ruth's sister was part of...
what is her name?
Ruth's sister, Elizabeth Zimmerman, was part of an organization that brought Buddhist children to the United States and gave them paid for their education. It's called Hands Outreach. So they would go, and this Buddhist young lady was part of the family. It was Lama Penna, who I met, who was the Dalai Lama's translator when he came to the United States. He was a scholar like this guy, and when the Dalai Lama's English wasn't so good, he had this man right at his side to be his tongue or be his spokesman. And I even went to a Tibetan wedding, which I thought was the first one where they, similar, you know, with the prayer flags and everything, but then they're taking yak butter and they're putting it on a tree, and they're taking the prayer flags and they're flying all the prayers, they're flying, and the flags are going in the wind like this, and this is spreading all of that, those good wishes and whatever. The Dalai Lama, there's a book which I looked all over my bookshelf, and I gave the book and it never came back to me, but somebody wrote a book called The Buddhist and the Jew. And the Dalai Lama gathered 10 or so Jewish theological people from different aspects, like this sect and that sect and this sect, and this is what they believe. And he was fascinated because he wanted to know how the Jews survived in exile. So, like, look what happened to the Tibetans, right? The Chinese took their country, took their people. Yeah. This girl was born in Kathmandu. Ruth's sister, Elizabeth Zimmerman, visited Kathmandu. So that was always a connection. I was absolutely delighted when the Long Island Buddhist Meditation Center came out here. I was your first champion. At least I felt that. I was like, I was happy to see you. I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure how you folks would be accepted. But that doesn't bother me. That's their problem. It's not my problem. But so that's. I was also involved in progressive politics in the '60s. When there was a Vietnam War, I marched on Washington as a peace person that didn't want the war to continue. There was a civil rights movement that tried to help black people advance their education and their opportunities, and that is America's birth defect. If you want to know what's wrong with America, they should never have allowed the institution of slavery in here. Didn't have to be here. Didn't have to. The Spanish and the English, they created all of this stuff. But it didn't have to be that way.
So,
Coming here for you folks.
what can you say about the Long Island Buddhist Meditation Center and the community? What can you say the service given to the community from here?
Well, again, I speak for myself. I think it's profound, and I consider myself fortunate to have such spirituality here, and me being so interested in that topic. That topic itself, what is a spiritual man? What's the right thing? How? I tried to read the writers. Carl Gustav Jung. I don't know if you've heard of that name. He was one of the greatest psychologists. He wrote 15 volumes on different comparative religions and how this one was connected to that. I have his completed works, 12 volumes from Princeton University, which is an Ivy League school. It is one of our best institutions.
What effect to your life from Buddhist teachings?
Well, I tried to use a good portion of my work with certain themes, and they were meditation themes. And if I showed you the work, this one right here, I was thinking of this, and da 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 da, and then that led me to think of this, da 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 da, and then this came in. So my process, Bhante, was very organic, just like the garden. You plant it and you weed it and you water it and you take care of it, and then you go out there and cut something and bring it in and cook it. What's better than that? Yeah, so I think being here permits all of that. And I see you're growing a following. Isn't that nice? You service the Sri Lankan community. This is a beautiful day in the country, I guess, imagine to them. And then they enjoy, the katinas and all of the ceremonies. So you're really providing two services, just like I felt I was when I was a teacher. I was one part of me was for the general masses, and the other part of me was for the people that really want to drill down, like your Alfreds and your this and that group. I don't come because my mind's gone by 8 o'clock.
Yeah. How meditation part helped people?
Oh, I meditate, and I think it's an important activity to do on a regular basis, and managing your breath. When I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I start with my breathing, and then I take a glass of water, and I go back in the bed, and I get up, and I think that meditating a lot puts you in a certain quiet place. It puts you in a quiet place. And I've had very brief experiences with a mild form of nirvana, which is being at, I think did what you had to do, so now you're here. You can absorb more of the teaching. I read all the time about something. It's dense. It's very important to read, because he's not talking about light things. The issues that he's talking about are very heavy, and they're important to understand nuance, the detail. You say the devil is in the details. The detail. you know, you get in trouble with the details. You know, it's like, it's just seeing everybody in a community of like-minded people doing the same thing. And even if it's for the moments that we're spending the time here, people feel community.
Right. How do you suggest somebody to start meditation?
How do you what?
How do you suggest somebody or to a beginner to meditate?
I have a lot of problem, Bhante, with thinking that I know what somebody else needs.
For a beginner who wants to meditate,
Somebody that wants to, I would sell them every aspect of it. It's beautiful. It calms you. It allows you to take a pause. You're reminded of the importance of I don't exist permanently. I'm nothing. Everything that I've done is going to be transformed in one form or another. So I welcome this opportunity to tell my story, because I always wanted to.
What kind of changes happen in your life from meditation and reading Dhamma books?
Well, I'm a very nice guy, but I have anger energy in me, and this meditation has allowed me, especially the mindfulness meditation and the loving wisdom, reminds me that aspect of my personality is just full of taints. They're just full of mistakes. But however, I love good habit energy too. You see, along with the bad, I recognize the bad in me, and I'm trying to keep it under. It's here with me. If you ask me, Howard, what did you do wrong this week? I would say, ask my wife. Should they? You know.
I don't see. I see a kind and lovely person from Howard Levine, but I don't see an angry person there.
Yeah. Well, you know.
How it happened?
How did you get angry? I mean, you I guess you're expecting things to be different than what happens, and you're a bit disappointed. You know, you see me, you see all the work I produced. I don't feel happy about that. I mean, I'm doing it and I enjoy doing it, but there's always more to be done. It's never enough. You know, Bhante, it's that's why I was put here, I think.
Your products of art pieces cannot be done by an angry person.
No.
There should be a lovely, compassionate, and so full understanding person. I see that from you.
I'm trying to be Bhante. I'm trying. I'm trying to be that way, but when I got sick and I realized the marathoner or the person that could never quit was given the experience of how frail I am and how weak I can become in such a short period of time, where I would go into a doctor's office and look at all those sick people and say, why am I here? I didn't see me sitting next to them. I saw your sickness and I felt bad. My own sickness, I can't see them. And I wanted to mention, you asked me about a rabbi or something, I will come back because something that this rabbi said to me stuck with me. And he had a great relationship. He said, my son could be a genius, my son. And he's never seen, Judaism doesn't consider my son Jewish because in our faith, the religion is always the mother's. Whatever the mother worships, anybody could be a father, but the mother is going to stay home, risk her life, feed the child, the medicine trip. It's like she's going to do that. So, Morris Frank used to say, not Morris Frank, Chaim used to say, everybody is an author of their lives. So why not create a masterpiece? If you're the author of the choices and the sum total of the choices and decisions that you have made,
I like that.
become a master at whatever you do, whether it's growing flowers or growing kindness, get into that organic flow of what's happening, that you don't feel so down. And you got to guard like the lions at the gate. Make sure that it doesn't slip out what you don't want to slip out. It's like, right? I wanted to be a good husband. I wanted to be a good father. I wanted to be a good artist. Whatever I wanted to do, my father would say, oh, you'll never do that. Oh, you'll never complete that. That's all you got to say to me is, I'll never do that.
But you did it.
What?
But you did it.
I did it. I understand. His point of view was different. His life experience was different.
Right.
He provided me the opportunity, Bhante, to become myself.
Thank you very much, Howard.
Good.
So, I'm with Mr. Howard Levine, the next door neighbor, my good friend, and also I can say my advisor.
No.
I get good advice from him. I learn from him so much.